My name is Karen Fassio, and I started at Microsoft in March of 1999. I was a contractor before then, but I started at Microsoft in 99 and exited the company at the end of 22. So I was there just short of 24 years. And I entered the company as a level 58 marketing manager, really sort of learning everything there is to know about global marketing, and exited the company as a director in the global partner solutions space. I was born in Olongapo, Philippines. I am a product of the Vietnam War. My parents met in the Philippines. My father was military in the Navy, and eventually my family migrated to the Philippines at the close of that experience. And I was essentially a product of two very unique immigrant experiences. My father from Canada, of Italian descent, and then my mother certainly from the Philippines. There was always multiple languages going on in our family, and I only learned the one. But we were exposed to this very different sort of Western, Eastern culture thing all the time. And so it was a big part of our family value system to be in community. Responsibilities, carrying family first values, and certainly as a firstborn daughter, included having the responsibility for making sure my siblings were well taken care of. And that I thought about my actions and the things that I was doing so that I could be an example for them. And it also included thinking about how I can do things that would benefit more than just myself. I was the kind of kid that always had to be first. I always had to, I studied a lot. I was self-motivated to learn. And I felt I was also very responsible. I loved to read and write when I was a kid. I was insatiable when it came to content to read and consume and learn about. I was a forever student. The name of my high school is Bladensburg High School in Maryland, just outside of the Washington, D.C. area. It was a school that had a very, very diverse population. And there was a lot of economic challenges in the space where we lived. And so I didn't realize that at the time that being a part of talented and gifted programs in that school was something extra special. But looking back, I can see that having that access and having the ability to sort of apply the sort of natural studiousness that I had allowed me to move in that environment with resources that weren't available to a lot of people. Well, my senior year of high school, I got pregnant. There was a lot of pregnant teenagers in my high school, and I ended up being one of them, despite talented and gifted programs and AP classes. And I made the decision at the time to take care of my son and put him family first. He was my focus. I remember an experience going to my guidance counselor with this news. And the first thing she wanted to do was show me the path to assistance. And I sort of looked at that option and thought about my son to come and realized that I needed to show him a different path. The first vision was, you don't have to accept the narrative that they give you. And then the second was, I don't need to let any of this define me. My son, Tony, is the analytics director of demand planning at PACCAR. I'm so proud of him. I was at Adobe before coming to Microsoft. So there's some backstory there because I started in the industry as a receptionist. That was an amazing job. and you know, found that I loved customers. I really loved talking to customers and I was really good at it. And one thing led to another. I started becoming manager of teams, and then I started really wanting to get into the work of how to relate to customers more, and that turned into going into marketing roles. I used that drive that I had to keep doing the work that turned into a marketing career. So my entry into Microsoft was through a mentor that I met at Adobe, who was my manager at the time, and we also became very good friends. She came to Microsoft and recruited me over to be a marketing manager for her. Becoming a marketer felt like a very natural thing because while I was also really good at understanding the customer, I was also really good at how we should speak to them. And I was put in a position of being a trainer for other people who were also doing this work, which then led to, well, why do we have to keep retooling the marketing when I can just work on the teams that are doing it in the first place? So we can just get to better product from the start. And so when I came to Microsoft, my very first job that I couldn't believe I actually had this job to do was to skill the world through these global international training initiatives that were training IT professionals on Microsoft's big wave of 2000 technologies. That was my first job. So not only was I enabling skilling and helping people to learn these products so that they could be serving their customers and their businesses smarter, I was also applying a marketing way of doing it through these enablement initiatives. So I was in a job, like the dream job for me at the time. And I love the concept of creating ways to empower people. That's why this mission of Microsoft is so resonating for me personally. It is Everfuel. And what skills can enable is exponential. And so when you have a platform like Microsoft's that is global and first moving and a mission that is driving it to empower at the heart of everything, that just brought everything together for me. And then someone who comes from a place of lack of access to now a sea of it. Oh my goodness. We just have a menu of things that we can do. Pick, bring it all together, boom, out the door. And next thing you know, you've got hundreds of thousands of people that have their lives changed forever. My successes in that role were the things that set me up foundationally for how to be successful in this company over the 24 years after. The working with other very smart, very driven people, the ecosystem of partnerships that you can unlock because you can create access points for them. And then the ways to communicate out into the world through stories that they're sharing with each other or partnerships that will carry your message even further out into the ecosystem than you ever could. Like they can get into the nooks and crannies of conversations that a big name like Microsoft can't get into. It was just this idea of just constantly unlocking access over and over again. And just pushing for more. Like we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, same big, amazing things, and look at the impact it's having on the people that we're actually able to serve. We have people that earn certifications that now build their careers so that they can advance in their own in their own careers and the ways they're impacting their families and their communities. They can, you can also impact how they get placed in other organizations, how maybe they even pursue their own businesses and become entrepreneurs and the next startups. I'm sure many of them did, the next startups of the future. It was all of these things that were just sort of creating catalysts for more, catalysts for change and in allowing people to achieve their highest potential. I just loved being a part of sort of that nugget of idea and forward energy. And so that's what it sort of taught me, is that enablement, skilling, like getting people access to things that they can learn so they can keep learning and fortifying themselves. That's the core, like that's the biggest, the hardest crank on the flywheel change. My first feeling as a prospective employee, I was so excited for the chance. And I was so nervous for my ability to do it. Because I also felt this, the importance of it. I knew this was an important company. I knew that it was something that was going to influence lives forever. And I really wanted to be a part of that. And I knew that I didn't have the typical background of most of the people. I remember gearing up for it and, doing my studying, doing the work to learn about the role and about the impact that this was going to require of me. But I also understood the stakes. My first interview at Microsoft was in the training and certification business. It was an interview where I was going to be speaking with 5 or 6 different people. And I knew it was one of those interviews where they're going to grill, and really make sure that you knew your stuff. At the same time, I felt very comfortable with the content. So I wanted to certainly impress, but I also felt like I know this. At the end of every interview, what was really wonderful is they each, took a moment and just said, I just want you to know that there's no question. You belong here. We want you here. I received the offer through my manager, she's the one who recruited me over. And I remember I definitely cried. And it was an emotional moment for me because I know I need to do the work to have a good career here, but I feel some relief that I'll now be able to really provide for my family's future. And I'll be able to bring more people forward. I was proud of the mission that we were doing. I felt like my purpose was really aligned with the work I was being hired to do. It was really amazing to be a part of all of that because I could see the value of having appropriate systems and infrastructure to get the best out of people, to really get all the stuff out of the way so that you could do your best work. When I think about the progress of my career, the evolution of that really turned into something that got me closer and closer to ecosystems and communities. Let's really get into fundamentals. So, education, training, certifications, that's a fundamental. And then I moved into licensing, where it's just fundamental business, return on investment, like hard metrics. And then having that sort of evolve into now let's talk about the communities of IT professionals. So I sort of, every time I sort of just moved into a space where it was learn fundamentals, then learn scale, and then learn how to really execute things that can go out and have impact in big ways, big communities, big sort of new moments that you can deliver and celebrate through communities. that growth that I had in my careers took me to the global partner solution space. So this is the partner ecosystem community. This is hundreds and thousands of IT businesses of all shapes and sizes that are taking Microsoft technologies, adding their special magic on top of it, and then taking that into enterprises, customers, organizations, school systems. Like it's this true, like full ecosystem impact work. The through line of community through my career. It is interesting looking back on that because I wouldn't have known it at the time, but it seemed to be a central pulling thing for me. Access and community. And, pivotal thing that happened to me when I became a director in the Global Partner Solutions Group. I had this responsibility through all of our digital work to help partners understand this cloud transformation thing. I mean, we had so many people that were just, Azure, no one would ever. and but the message wasn't coming through. My epiphany was, we actually have to teach these people. We need to teach these communities, these partners, what this is really all about. We can't just keep throwing out messages to them. We need to take them through it. And so I started an initiative that was outside of my job, but just because I had a passion for them getting it. And it was this program called Cloud Ready. And we did an experiment around that to take it to some partners to help them learn. And we put hundreds of partners through that because you operate at that kind of scale. To start, and then we could feed that insight back into all of our big, massive digital engines and empowerment engines. So it was created this self-education, like this ongoing education, infinite education of out, in, like, here's what we know, here's what you know, bring it back in so we can keep teaching you smarter and better. And then as we were doing that work, could see that there were no women in the room that were also participating in this opportunity to learn. And so this is where I partnered with a friend and now co-founder of an organization called Women in Cloud. That's where that came from. Was we need to help empower more women that are in tech. We need them to see their share of this $1 trillion opportunity. It is there for all of us to be able to participate in. And so we also need to help instruct and create community and access for women that are also trying to figure out their way through these waves of innovation and opportunity. To see how much that sort of support through community was working for people was one of the things that sort of validated over and over again the power of community. It was a sense of pride in them for having just taken a chance, believing us, believing that we had their best interests at heart, but also that they're not alone, that there are others who are on this journey of making a difference and being in tech, and to see that there is this wonderful, generous access point that they can take advantage of just continues to just create inspiration for me over and over and over again. And hopefully as we're getting inspired, we're putting it right back in, and it just creates this great infinite cycle of energy and support. Becoming a leader, I was a group manager on a team of program managers. And becoming a leader of a team of peers that were once peers is a special development. What I learned through that is the frequency of communication and transparency and the value of transparency. I see you all as not only peers from my past, but peers of the future. So let's just keep, learning and growing and creating trust between each other so that we can continue to have the impact that we want. The mission of Microsoft, let's just really think about what it is. A planet of empowered people. Planet of empowered people, everyone having access and being enabled through what can be delivered through technology. I find that incredibly inspiring. And, given the way I feel about community and people and unleashing access, I still see Microsoft as being a big force in that. And for someone like me who believes in the power of empowerment, it is something that, any one of us can bring into our day-to-day and infuse into how we do our work every day, relate to each other. It's this wonderful thread that can just keep evolving and keep creating more energy behind it. So the responsibility that I feel is that my representation matters a lot. I think about that little kid in Prince George's County, Maryland, who didn't have anyone who looked like me doing what I do. And thinking about how this me being here could be enough for them to give themselves a chance, change their narrative and not accept what they're seeing around them.